Recording. So as usual, we will begin with the Mangalacharan and the Guru Pranam mantras. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurgurum Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajadam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Dev Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitam हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपीश गोपिका कांता राधा कांत नमस्ते जयतम शरतो पंगुर ममा मंडा मतिर्गति मत्सर्वस्व पादाम्बोजो राधा मत नमो दिव्यात् बृन्दारण्यकल्पद्रुवादः श्रीमद्रत्नागदौ सिंहासनस्थो श्रीमन् राधा श्रीरघोविन्ददेवो प्रस्थालिभिः सेव्यमानो शरावति श्रीमन् रासारसारम्भी वंशिवातस्ततस्थितः कर्षन् वेणोर्सनैर्गोपीर्गोपीनाथः श्रीकृष्णः तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गे राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयं अष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेव्या भागवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः नमः पङ्कजनाभाय नमः पङ्कजमालिने नमः पङ्कजनेत्राय नमस्ते पङ्कजाङ्घ्रि त्वयि मे अनन्दविषया मतिर्मधुपतिया सकृत् रतिमुद्वह तदा गङ्गेवौगं गङ्गतिः O Lord of sweetness, Madhupate, as the Ganga forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction or ratim be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anyone else. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vignavinashana Simhaiti Namini Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayatim Girim Yatkripa Tamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Ramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Mishwaram Om Tat Sat. So Hare Krishna everyone. So welcome back to Srimad Bhagavatam. So chapter 18, Mhj Parikshit cursed by a Brahmana boy. And we are doing part 2. So this is today's session. So let's recap what was covered in part 1. So we heard about the beginning of this chapter. This chapter would be describing what happened to Mhj Parikshit. Why? Because we want to know why Srimad Bhagavatam was uh, spoken. So the situation happened in such a way. So therefore, Sutta Goswami is narrating incident by incident. So he began by narrating how the Pandavas retired, and after retiring, they enthroned Parikshit Maharaj, and Parikshit Maharaj was a very very wonderful king. We heard about all that. So some of the Mahabhagavata, Parikshit's Mahabhagyam. So the great fortune of Parikshit Maharaj was the great fortune of Parikshit Maharaj was also mentioned again in chapter 18. So what is the great fortune of Parikshit Maharaj? The great fortune was, number one, we all heard about the birth of Parikshit Maharaj, how he is given the name Vishnu Ratha. Vishnu Ratha means one who is directly protected by Lord Vishnu. Vishnu Ratha. And then we heard how he is Bhagavati Arpita Sayaha. Bhagavati Arpitasayaha means one who is fully surrendered to the Lord. So Parikshit Maharaj is famous because he is also fully surrendered personality to the Supreme Lord. So we heard all this in the earlier session. And another Mahabhagya, another great quality of Parikshit Maharaj, he is Vayasaki Sishya. That means he is the Sishya or the student of son of Vyasa. Vyasaki means the son of Vyasa, and that is none other than Sukadev Goswami. So the great Sukadev Goswami was the teacher, and the great Parikshit Maharaj was the student. So a wonderful connection was formed, this kind of relationship. We will hear more about that connection in this chapter. And how, due to this relationship with Vyasaki, with Sukadev Goswami, the wonderful incarnation of the Supreme Lord in the form of Grantha or book, Srimad Bhagavatam, took place because of these two personalities. So Uttama Sloka Katha Amritam. So Parikshit Maharaj was extremely fortunate because he heard the topmost glorifications of the Supreme Lord. Uttama Sloka, that personality of the Supreme Lord, he is known as Uttama Sloka, and he heard those glorifications in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam, Katha Amritam, continuous flow of nectar, Katha Amritam. And he is Antakale Krishna Padam Bhujam Smaranam. He is very, very fortunate. He is Mahabhagavata, that we heard already, how he is a great devotee. And he is Mahabhagyam, because Antakale, at the time of death, at his last stage of life, Antakale, he had the opportunity of Smaranam, remembering who? Remembering Krishna Padambujam, the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. How did he remember? Due to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So in this way, he was able to remember the Lord when he was giving up his body. And how did he give up this body? So all that happens in this chapter. We will hear more as Sutta Goswami narrates. So we heard about the wonderful fortune of this great personality, Parikshit Maharaj. And then we also heard how Parikshit Maharaj kept Kali in check, right? So earlier we heard about his greatness on how he could keep Kali itself in check. And how did he do that? Uh, so he could bring out the good fortune of Kali. Now, Kali is an ocean of bad qualities. All bad qualities are there. So it one of those, but there is some redeeming quality. Some redeeming quality. One quality we all know, simply by the process of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, right? It's a very simple process. Don't have to have elaborate preparation. No need to have so much of wealth. No, you don't even have to be clean. So anytime, anywhere, Namna Makari Bahuda Nija Sarva Saktis. The potencies of the Lord are invested in full in all these holy names of the Lord. Tatrarpita Niyamita Smarane Nakalaha. There are no hard and fast rules for chanting these holy names of the Lord. So that is the great opportunity which is given in Kali Yuga. Now, previously, Hare Krishna Mahamantra was also there, but it was given in the Vedas. It was in the Kali Santarana Upanishad, right? And at that time, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is pronounced the other way around. It's Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. This is how it was written in the Kali Santarana Upanishad. Now, Upanishad is part of the Vedas, and the Vedas it's mentioned in the Vedas itself that it's only meant for Brahmanas. So non-Brahmanas cannot pronounce these mantras. It's not meant for them. So therefore, uh, it was it was kept hidden. It was not revealed. This sublime process of chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So, but the Lord Himself came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We are going to celebrate Gaura Purnima next Friday. So we must remember the great fortune that all of us have to be just 500 years in connection, 538 years only, coming from that Supreme Personality of God Himself who appeared in this earth. And and it's because of him that we are all saved simply by the sublime process of Harinam Sankirtan. He is the one, he is known as Mahavadanyaya, extremely merciful. So one of his mercy is described in how he came and he changed the Mahamantra from Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, because people would say this is Vedic mantra. This mantra is Vedas. Normal, common people all cannot say this Vedic mantra. But he knew that in Kali Yuga, there are no Brahmanas. Everybody is born Shudra. Where there is someone with Brahminical qualification, right? It's very rare. And it only took the mercy of Srila Prabhupada to even establish ISKCON and establish Krishna consciousness and develop Brahminical qualities and all these things. So, but otherwise, generally, Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults. So, how to deliver these people? So, Mahabadanyaya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he took this Mahamantra, which is prescribed in the Vedas, in the Kali Santarana Upanishad, and he repeated it and he switched it. So by switching the Mahamantra, now it is no longer Vedic mantra. It is now spoken by the Lord, and it's still as good as the Vedic Vedas because the Vedas are spoken by the Lord only. So now he took the Vedas and he spoke it in the other way around. So now the Mahamantra is given to everyone. So therefore, Mahamantra is no longer restricted only to Brahmanas. It is given to everyone. So this is what Mahavadanyaya Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did for us. He saved all of us, everybody, without looking at qualification. Anyone can chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra and we can all be redeemed. So that's one of the great. So I was talking about what are the redeeming qualities of Kali Yuga. So in this Kali Yuga, the Lord came in this munificent form and gave this simple process of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Another redeeming quality of Kali Yuga, if anyone remembers, is that whatever which is in previous ages, whatever we think and whatever we say and whatever we do has reactions. So it's not only that we do, it's also whatever we speak and whatever we think also. Just thinking some bad thing is already a reaction in other yugas. But in Kali Yuga, you can imagine if that was the case, then there's no hope for the population, right? So in Kali Yuga, one of the consensus given is if you think something bad, you don't get the reaction. Only if you speak and only if you do, you get the reaction. So at least it's contained within the mind, right? So we can master the mind. So therefore, we have to control the mind so that even that also is removed. But at least this benefit is given to us in Kali Yuga. Otherwise, finish. There's no hope for us, right? So therefore, and another good quality in Kali Yuga is this particular quality which was mentioned in the chapter 18, which we covered in previous session. It said that anything auspicious, uh, the results will immediately come. whereas anything inauspicious will take some time, will act only upon action. So we have to act, and it will be you know given in a later form. So auspicious qualities act very quickly. So we should, if anything is auspicious, we should immediately do it and not hold back. That was, if you remember, that was what Ravana told to Hanuman. In a previous session, we were talking about this. Hanuman was told by Lord Ramachandra to go and get some advice from Ravana because he was dying. So just go and speak to him, and he will hear what he has to say. So Ravana told Hanuman, don't be like me. Any advice which was auspicious, I would always keep it aside. I will not do it immediately. But anything which was inauspicious, I would immediately do. Because, so kidnap Sita, immediately he went and did. People told him to return Sita, he did not do. So in this way, many things which were auspicious, he always kept it aside. He put it, he would be lethargic to it. Then he told Hanuman, so this is my advice. Anything auspicious, immediately do. Anything don't think. No need to think. Just have to set it in the mind. Somebody tells you to do something auspicious, just do it. No Nike slogan. Don't think, don't deliberate, just do it. You just have to decide in your mind whether it's using your intelligence. Just have to understand whether it's auspicious or not. So anyway, so Maharaj Parikshit is expert in this. Therefore, he's called Saranga Eva Sarabuk. Now the word Saranga, in Malay also we say Saranga, right? So Saranga means insect, but it comes from the Sanskrit Saranga. So here it refers to the insect, particularly the bee. So the bee is very expert in extracting the nectar, the essence. So it flies everywhere. It avoids rubbish. It avoids bad things. It only goes towards those which are wonderful and like flowers. And it lands on the flower, and it's expert in extracting the essence of the flower. So this is what Mahabhagavat Parikshit is. He is also like that. He knows how to extract the essence of what is spoken to him, what he hears. So we are advised to also be very have to we should learn to be critical in our thinking. So as we hear, we should learn to critically extract the information, just like Parikshit Maharaj, not just let it enter into our left ear and come out from the right ear. So it should go in and at least do a swirl in the brain. So this thinking or critical thinking or discussing, if you're not able to critically think, we should at least discuss the points. So this is what Maharaj Parikshit is expert in doing. So he's setting the example, and this is described. So these are all benefits in Kali Yuga. And then it was also described how Maharaj Parikshit was very powerful and how he could protect those who are much weaker, particularly who are those who need protection, especially to be protected: the Brahmanas, the children, the women, the cows, and the old men. So remember, we discussed this in our previous session. And Maharaj Parikshit is also Dhira, having nothing to fear. He is fearless. So a pure devotee is always fearless because he is Vishnu Ratha, protected by the Supreme Lord himself. So even though he knew he was going to be cursed to die in 7 days, he was completely surrendered. That's why he is called Bhagavati Arpatasyaha. He did not care. He was completely surrendered. He knew no matter what happens to me, even if my mind thinks is good or my mind thinks is bad, ultimately I depend on the Lord. And whatever the Lord does for me is for my benefit. So he had that very, very, very strong faith that whatever happens to me is for my benefit. Even though we may not understand it in the beginning, even though we may not know why this is happening or how can this happen, it doesn't matter. But we have to have that strong faith. This is one of the symptoms of surrender. There are 6 symptoms of surrender. And one of those symptoms of surrender is to understand that Krishna is our ever maintainer and our ever protector, our well wisher in every circumstance. So, in this way, we develop abhayam. Therefore, we develop fearlessness, the quality of the more we surrender, the more we feel we are completely under the control of the Lord, the more situations that come to us, even though they apparently look unfavorable, we will feel that we are fearless. Don't we all want to become fearless? Right? I see, there are people who fear so many things. Oh, you cannot do this. This is bad. Oh, what will happen if you do this? What will happen if you do that? What will happen? So this is all fearfulness, right? So one should be fearless. That is Srila Prabhupada, Abhay Charanara Vinda. Fearlessly he went into the West, right? Knowing full well that Krishna will give him all guidance. So in the past also, so many people fearlessly went into the forest, right? They took sannyasa, fearlessly understanding that, the Lord will protect. Parikshit Maharaj is also like that. So fearlessly, he did not bother to protect himself because he thought the situation is very strange. We will hear about more of this situation on why this happened and how this happened in chapter 18 later on. Anyway, then we also heard about how, because this entire narration was being spoken by Sutta Goswami to the sages of Naimisaranya forest, headed by Saunaka Rishi. So they were all hearing very, very attentively. Just imagine, like children, they are being told a very interesting story. Their gaze and attention is all fully riveted into that person. So, in the same way, the sages of Naimi Saranya are described as Rasavit. Rasavit means those who are expert in relishing mellows. Different types of mellows are there, right? There's romance, there is comedy, there is horror, there is, just like when we watch movies, we have different genre, or we read book, we have different genres. So this is called mellows. So these sages are expert in relishing those mellows, as Sutta Goswami was narrating the Srimad Bhagavatam to them. And so they are described as Sushrusatam. Sushrusatam means very, very eager, extremely eager. Anxious. Actually, the translation Prabhupada gives is anxious. They are so eager to hear that they are actually anxious. Oh, will it finish? Oh, will it not? Will it end? We sometimes we are like in Kali Yuga, we are like the opposite. Oh, when will it end? Oh, when will this finish? But for them, oh, will it finish? Will it end? I don't want it to end. I don't want it to finish. So that is the nature of such great sages. In So anyway, we heard about this. So now we will continue. So we left off in this verse. This was the last statement spoken by Sutta Goswami to the sages in Naimisaranya. So he was saying, Ya yaha kata bhagavataha katanyoru karmanaha guna karmasrayaha pumbihi samischa sta bubukshubhihi. Those who are desirous of achieving complete perfection in life, don't we all do want that, right? We are all desirous of achieving complete perfection of life. Everyone wants complete perfection in life. So therefore, Sutta Goswami is telling, who wants to achieve complete perfection in life? So all of us raise our hands. So to them, he's saying, what we must do, we must submissively hear all topics that are connected with the transcendental activities and qualities of the personality of Godhead. So again, what must we do in order to achieve complete perfection in life? We must submissively hear. What should we hear? We should hear Ya Yaha Katha Bhagavata. Everything and everything which is in relation with Katha Bhagavata. All and everything which is in relation. So we mustn't be choosy. Oh, I will only hear uh, Krishna Katha. Krishna Katha as in the pastimes of Krishna with the gopis. I'm not interested to hear other things. I don't want to hear Mahabharata, or I don't want to hear about the Pandavas, or I don't want to hear about how Krishna created the world, or I'm not interested about the philosophy. No, that is not the attitude of a devotee. Ya yaha katha bhagavataha. Everything and everything that needs to be heard, which is scientifically arranged according to order by Sutta Goswami, right? So we must hear it. And the mood is submissive inquiry, right? This is mentioned so many times, isn't it? Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says this, right? Tadvidi paripatena pariprasnena sevaya. Submissively we have to inquire, right? Submissively we have to hear. So what does it mean submissively? Does that mean I must hold a straw and I must dandavat and dandavat? No, it means the mood in how we hear. We should understand we are so fortunate to receive this wonderful Srimad Bhagavatam or even Bhagavad Gita or anything, right? We are so fortunate to hear this, and our attitude should be one of for complete gratitude. And it should be in our mind, there should be no doubt. We should be thinking, whatever I hear in this scripture is the truth. Even though I don't understand, even though I can't see it, or I'm not able to completely understand this aspect. Sometimes, some of the descriptions will be given, and we may not be able to logicize it in our mind. But the submissive mood here means we have to at least theoretically accept. We should at least theoretic. Okay, I'm too dumb at this moment. I can't understand it. Okay, let me do more service, let me do more chanting. So that's the point. This spiritual knowledge is very special, is very interesting. It will not, no matter how much we read or how much we hear, until we deserve it, it will not be revealed in our mind. We will not understand it fully until we are free from offenses, until we please the Lord. So therefore, we have to continuously hear and continuously try for it. Each time we do, so that's why we need to develop the taste. If we develop even a little bit of taste in hearing and chanting, that means our Krishna consciousness is a success. Because everything that we do, our devotional service, our bhakti, all the services that we do, all the activities that we do, the cutting, the washing, the cleaning, everything that we do for the pleasure of the Lord and the devotees, it must translate into some taste in hearing and chanting. Taste in chanting will come a little later, but at least we must develop taste in hearing. We must want to when we hear, we feel like, oh, it's so nice, or something, at least such wonderful topics. So that is success. And the more we hear and the more we chant and the more we do devotional service, this taste in hearing and chanting will increase more and more, right? So, and this is the mood in which we should do it. So anyway, so he ended his narration to the sages of the Naimisaranya. He was very pleased with them because they were very eager. And purposely, just to incite them to ask further questions, he dropped a few hints here and there, because he knows these sages definitely will catch those hints and they will ask further questions. And he was right. So naturally, the sages also, because they were so eager to hear, they also caught up with that mood. So now they are replying. The sages of Naimisaranya, headed by Saunaka Rishi, is replying back to Sutta Goswami. The good sages said, "Oh, grave Sutta Goswami, may you live many years." So they benedicted him, they blessed him. They were very pleased that Sutta Goswami, this is the culture also. Whenever we hear, whenever we when a great personality comes and he gives class and everything or whatever, the culture is those who are listening, we give them some dakshan, we bless them, right? So this kind of thing. So that's the culture. So Sutta Goswami, may you live many years and may you have eternal fame. Why? Because you are speaking very nicely about the activities of Krishna. Samsasi Krishnasya. That is the purpose of our mouth. That is the purpose of our tongue. That is the crowning glory of the ability of human beings to speak. If we can speak anything at all, let it be Krishna consciousness. Let us glorify the name, fame, glory, the Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela of the Lord and his devotees. Then our mouth and our tongue is perfected. Hmm? And then he continues, this is just like Amritam. for mortal beings like us. So it's very nice the way the words he is using. So Sutta Goswami is saying, just like what you have been saying, right? All that you have been describing is like life-saving nectar. This Amritam, he is particularly using the word Martyanam here. He's referring to all of us, all of he's talking about all of them, but it also means all of us. We are all Martyanam. Martya comes from the word Mrityu. Mrityu means death. So we are all subjected to death. So all of us who are subjected to death, what you have just spoken, Sutta Goswami, it is like the nectar of immortality for those of us who are going to die. So such a great thing, right? So therefore, you are Amritam for the Mrityanam. Amritam is the nectar of immortality. It gives immortality to the person who drinks it. We just had Kumbh Mela. So Kumbh Mela, everybody goes to Kumbh Mela. So everybody wants to get immortality. So by bathing and everything. So, but the real immortality, because that immortality we will hear later, right? It's not the real immortality. That Kumbh Mela immortality which they get, that nectar, that one only gives liberation. But liberation itself is not permanent because one will again fall down to the material world. So one has to get the ultimate nectar of immortality, and that will be differentiated later in this chapter. We will hear. So Prabhupada is saying, the more we hear about the transcendental activities of the Lord, as they are stated in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the more we can know about his transcendental nature. And why we want to know about the transcendental nature of a person. This is entirely the process of falling in love with a person, right? This is the wonderful, wonderful romantic story of the art of falling in love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, if we want to fall in love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we must hear about Him, isn't it? So, by hearing about Him, by understanding His wonderful nature, how His wonderful nature is, and about His great, wonderful qualities, then any person will fall for that person, isn't it? So that is the whole idea behind it. To put it in a very simple term, which we can understand. So the more we know about his transcendental nature and thus make definite progress on the path back to Godhead. Just like Rukmini. Rukmini never saw Krishna in her life. From birth, she was hearing about Krishna. Simply by hearing about Krishna and chanting Krishna's names, she completely fell in love with Krishna. And Krishna reciprocated with her. So we all want to follow in the footsteps of Rukmini Devi. So simply by hearing and chanting, we hope one day Krishna will reciprocate with us. Right? So that's why Prabhupada says, as we continue reading Srimad Bhagavatam, as we turn the pages, one day we will see Krishna in every page. So that is a success. So we have just begun. So now sages are saying, they are telling Sutta Goswami, look, we have just begun this performance of fruitive activity. What he's talking about? He's talking about a sacrificial fire. We know the backstory of the sages of Naimisaranya, isn't it? How they were all, because Kali Yuga was coming, they didn't know what else to do. So they were performing great fire sacrifice. All thousands of them, they all combined in Naimisaranya in the center of the universe. And they conducted so much of fire sacrifice for 1,000 years. They were doing the fire sacrifice. So this fire sacrifice, see interestingly how Srimad Bhagavatam refers to this fire sacrifice. It is as a fruitive activity, karma kanda, this sacrificial fire, right? So they were thinking by this means they can check Kali. But let's see what they say. Without certainty. So they were not certain that this method will solve the problem, that it can check Kali. The word used is anasvase, which means without certainty. So they were not certain of the result of the activities they were doing due to the many imperfections in our action. See this. Just see, these are the sages of Naimisharanya, and they are saying they are not sure my fire sacrifice would be successful because due to our imperfect actions while performing the fire sacrifice. So you can just imagine how difficult fire sacrifice is, to actually bear fruit. So that's why it was meant for Treta Yuga during Lord Ram's time. So Dwapara Yuga during Krishna's time, fire sacrifices, that time itself was not so powerful. And these sages were expressing their doubts of this fire sacrifice. So therefore, Prabhupada gives comment in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana. Vishnu tells Shiva that in the age of Kali, men full of anxieties of various kinds can vainly labor in fruitive activity and philosophical speculation. So usually it will not bear fruit really so much. And he continues, our bodies have become black from the smoke. You can imagine 1,000 years of doing fire sacrifice constantly, continuously for 1,000 years. Not just one kunda, so many kundas, so many of them, thousands of them. So their bodies have become black from smoke. So Saunaka Rishi is admitting this. But even though our bodies have become black with smoke, uh, but we are factually pleased by Govinda Pada Padmasavam. So even though we have done so much of yagyas, but we see that Kali Yuga was not being checked. But what has happened? You have come. You have come and in search of us, and we have heard from you. Govinda Pada Padmasavam Madhu, which you are distributing. So this is pleasing us, not the Karma Kanda activity which we have been doing, which we have become frustrated in doing it, right? But simply by short, for 1,000 years they were doing Karma Kanda activities and they were not satisfied. So now simply by hearing what you have just spoken for a few minutes, we are so pleased. Govinda, what they have been hearing? They have been hearing Govinda Pada Padma Savam Madhu. Madhu means honey. Asavam means a special intoxicating liquor. This liquor it's more medicinal. It's actually used as medicine in Ayurveda. It's called asavam. It's made of fermented fruit juices and all. So it's intoxicating. This nectar madhu, honey, is intoxicating. Why is intoxicating? Because it's coming from the lotus. Padma means lotus. Pada means feet. The lotus feet of Govinda. So this is they are saying this to Saunaka Rishi. In other words, they are saying how eager they are to hear from Saunaka Rishi. So Prabhupada says, but when they are engaged in devotional service, the result is sure and certain, and there is no loss of energy. This is the recommendation for Kali Yuga. Every other method of spirituality will not bear fruit. That's why it's mentioned in the Brihat Narada Purana. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam, Kalau Nasti, Kalau Nasti, Kalau Nasti, Eva Gati Ranyataha. There is no other way, no other way, no other way. Right? And therefore, Prabhupada continues, in other words, nothing performed for spiritual realization or for material benefit can be successful without devotional service to the Lord. This is the secret. It's not that we give up all these other activities. We can continue these other activities, but we add the critical, crucial factor. So just like if we want to do yagyas, because yagyas are prescribed for various activities like housewarming or like a birth ceremony, or most of the things involve some of marriage, right? That's yagya, fire sacrifice, homas. But simply performing fire sacrifice alone by itself is useless. Useless in the sense it will not bear fruit, right? Still, people do it because it is prescribed in the scriptures generally, but particularly in Kali Yuga, you must have one extra component. And that one extra component is adding devotional service component, which is hearing and chanting, right? So particularly chanting, Hare Nama Sankirtan, that has to be there. Without Sankirtan, it's mentioned in one of the scriptures, if we perform any kind of spiritual activity, no matter what it is, but if we do not sufficiently remunerate the priest, that means we don't give sufficient dakshina to the priest, number one. Number two, we do not chant the holy names of the Lord. Number two. Number three is we do not feed the devotees. We do not invite the devotees and feed them. If we don't do these three things properly, then whatever activity, so-called spiritual activity that we do is practically useless. So that is the situation in Kali Yuga. So Prabhupada continues, one can feel this practically as one can feel the result of eating food. So simply by adding this component of devotional service, we can feel satisfied. It's like the rishis of the sages. The sages, they were very quickly satisfied simply by hearing. So that is the process. So then he continues, the value of just a second, nimisha, just a nimisha, value of just a nimisha of what? The nimisha of association, sangasya, the nimisha of association with someone who is Bhagavat Sangi. Bhagavat Sangi means one who is closely associated with the Lord. So, in other words, he's saying the value of just a fraction of the moment that you spend with someone who is closely associated with the Lord cannot even be compared to Swargam. That means if you had a choice, if there was a Tula, this verse mentions the Tula. Tula means the balance, the scale. If you put Swarga here, Swarga, which is Swarga means heavenly planets, that you are able to live in the heavenly planets. And if you compare that against just a fraction of a second spending time with a pure devotee, a Bhagavat Sangi, one who is very close to the Lord, right? It cannot balance. Just that the moment which we spend is much, much, much more beneficial for us than attaining Swargaloka. Not just Swargaloka, that is just one part. Even if you add one more part to it, attaining Swarga, you enjoy Swarga a lot, and after that you attain Apnar Bhavam. Apnar Bhavam means no more birth, no more taking birth again. In other words, liberation. So even if you add liberation into the scale, right? Even if you add liberation into the scale, together with Swarga, even that cannot compare to just one moment association with a pure devotee. Not just that, one more equation to add, Swargam plus liberation plus Asisaha. Asisaha means uh, material opulence, uh, worldly benediction. That means you get anything you want in this world. So, in this worldly benediction, heavenly benedictions, even liberation, all three add together cannot compare to one moment of spending time with a pure devotee of the Lord. So, we should understand this very, very carefully, right? This is the secret of devotional service. We must look out for opportunities to serve pure devotees because by serving them, this is an act of humility. Remember, the verse earlier said that we must humbly hear from them, right? Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprasnena. We must, and how does this humble means? It means we must also serve them. So we must find opportunities to serve them and to hear from them. Not simply hear from, I mean, there are, of course, we should hear if nobody else is there. But when a pure devotee is present, we should immediately take advantage to hear from them. It is very, very, very precious. You can see how the sages of Naimi Saranya are comparing that, right? Even with Swargam, even with liberation. That's why I'm saying here, this is the verse. Earlier, I mentioned how even the Kumbh Mela liberation is not going to be very, very good for us because that liberation it's going to be temporary. For the moment, we would have attained Brahman. Yes, I'm eternal, I'm spirit soul, but he's not yet engaged in his swadharma as a jiva. So, as a result of that, he cannot maintain his position as in the Brahman sphere. He will again fall down into the material ocean. So, it's simply like, somebody is in prison, right? And then he gets first class prison. That is Asisaha, worldly benediction. Within the prison, he gets first class treatment. But even better than that, he comes out of prison. That is Apunar Bhavam. No, he doesn't have to go back to prison again. But that alone is not sufficient. One has to be positively engaged in blissful activity. Then only he will not go back to prison. This is the point. So therefore, then the Saunaka Rishi is telling the sages of Naimisaranya, saying the value of even a moment of pure devotees association cannot compare to liberation plus heavenly pleasures plus worldly benedictions. And these three things, Swargam, Apnarbhavam, and Asisaha, these three things are meant for those who are meant for death. Mrityanam, people who are meant to die, for these people, these things will become very wonderful. But if you want to live forever, if you want to drink Amritam, the real Amritam, then we will give up these things and we will look for this. Nimisha Bhagavat Sangi Sangasya. Just a moment of that association can change the destiny of our soul's journey. Prabhupada says, such attachment is conditioned because it drives away the benedictions of life and prosperity. So, attachment to Swarga, liberation, and all these things, it drives away benedictions of life and prosperity. And just the opposite is attained if we develop attachment to the pure devotee. So, therefore, we have many songs, uh, Bhakti Vinod Thakur sings in his various songs. Narottam Das Thakur also says, please give me that association of the pure devotee. Right? I run after you, chasing after you, calling after you. Oh, so many songs like that are there. And they all repeat the same point. Yudhishthira Maharaj also says the same thing to Vidura. If you remember from earlier chapters, when Vidura came, Yudhishthira Maharaj was the first person to say this particular point also. So such association is worshipable. One may accept it as the highest goal of life. So simply to have that association, to serve such a person and to hear from them, it is the highest goal of life. If we can do that even for a moment, for a few seconds, we can consider our life a great success. It will give us untold uh, benedictions. The personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna Govinda, is the exclusive. The word ekanta is used. Eka anta. Eka means one, exclusively. So not others. Who is who? So the personality of Godhead, Govinda, particularly Govinda is mentioned, is the only shelter. Therefore, Eka Anta for all great living beings. Mahatma. Mahatma means great living beings. So even great living beings, even great personalities, they take only shelter of Lord Govinda because he is the only one. He is known therefore as Mukunda, the giver of benediction, the giver of liberation. And his transcendental attributes. So the qualities, the guna and the lila of this Govinda, the transcendental qualities, they are described as guna anam agunasya. Guna means quality, aguna means no quality. So, but this word basically it means transcendental quality, negates material qualities and it accepts transcendental quality. So, guna nam here refers to transcendental quality. Aguna here refers to negation of material qualities. So, the Supreme Lord, in other words, has no material qualities. Everything that he has is transcendental, and his qualities cannot even be measured, not be even measured by great personalities. Not even what to speak of us. Great personalities cannot measure the Supreme Lord's qualities. So Sutta Goswami, Sanaka Rishi continues. Who are these great personalities who have taken shelter of Govinda? Who are these great personalities who cannot measure the greatness of Govinda? None other than the masters of mystic powers. So even the greatly powerful masters of mystic powers like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, they cannot understand the full glory of Lord Krishna. And they have taken shelter of Lord Krishna. So this is the verse which This evidence, this is our first evidence to show how even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are devotees of the Lord. So between the two, Lord Shiva is greater. So therefore, he is known as Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. Shambhu means Lord Shiva, and Vaishnavanam Yata means of all the Vaishnavas, he is the greatest of them, the most powerful, right? And continues. So, can anyone who is expert, this word comes again, Rasavit. Rasavit means one who is expert in tasting the mellows, right? So, can anyone who is Rasavit, who loves to taste mellows, can he ever be fully satiated? Tripti, in Tamil also we say tripti, in Sanskrit, triptiate. So, triptam, the root word is triptam. So, in grammar, it changes to triptiate. Can anyone can ever be fully satisfied by hearing topics about him? Not just anyone, Rasavits. That means those who are expert in understanding mellows. In other words, this means devotees. Can any devotee ever be fully satisfied by hearing topics about him? So this is how Saunaka Rishi is telling. And this is described again in many places. How do we recognize a devotee? How do we recognize a pure devotee? A pure devotee is someone who is 24/7, 365 days, is fully engaged in the devotional practice of the Lord. So everything he does in remembrance of the Lord. So this is not only for sannyasis, it is also for brahmacharis, grahastas, vanaprasthas, sannyasis. So, for grahastas, they do their services, they do their work, but they do their work only for the satisfaction of the Lord. So they're always remembering I'm going to bring back this money, I'm going to bring back, how can I use it in glorification? Okay, today I will serve the devotees. I will have a wonderful feast with whatever I've earned. So this is described by in Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's this personality called Kolevecha Sridhar. Kolevecha Sridhar is very, very poor, and he only lived by his occupation was he had some banana trees growing near his house. So he will get the not he will get the leaves of the banana trees because these banana trees don't belong to him directly. So he asked the owner, "Can I at least have the leaves?" So he took the leaves of the banana trees and he will make them into cups so that people can use them. And this was his only way of earning a living. So he was selling banana leaf cups in the market. Mm. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and what he does, from 50% of that earning of that livelihood, he will use it in the service of the devotees. Particularly, he will use it for worship of Mother Ganga. So, and the remainder 50%, he will use it for his own, whatever subsistence and everything. So therefore, devotees of the Lord, they earn money, they do their work and everything, but they dedicate their energy and their life and in serving the Lord, either serving the deities or serving at home the Lord, cooking wonderful things for the pleasure of the Lord and serving the family and inviting people also to come and have prasadam, uh, sponsoring festivals, maintaining the other ashrams, the brahmacharis, the sannyasis, and all that. So these are the duties of the grahastha. If one does this in this attitude, in this food, in this focus, then one is also in the same level, right? So how do we recognize a devotee? A devotee loves to hear about the Lord. The devotee spends time to hear, to chant, dedicates some time to always trying to, in every day, constant. So there is this nice verse in Padma Purana. Prabhupada quotes this in the purport. Ramante yogino anante satyananda chid atmani iti rama padenaso param brahma vididyate. The translation is, the mystics derive unlimited transcendental pleasures from the absolute truth. And therefore, the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, is known as Rama. So Rama means reservoir of all pleasure. So reservoir of all pleasure, and therefore those who are even following the mystic path of yoga, ultimately they derive their pleasure from Lord Ram only. There are many verses, Bhagavad Gita also, how to recognize a devotee. Matchita madgata prana bodhayantas parasparam tusyanti katayantas chamam nityam tusyanti cha ramanti cha. So always thinking of me, Matchita, always thinking of me, conscious of the Lord everywhere, every time. How to do this? Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, chapter 15 gives us clues on how to do this, right? And always thinking of me, Matchita, Madgata, Prana, and dedicating one's life towards serving the lotus feet of the Lord, right? Matchita, Madgata, Prana, Bodhayantas Parasparam, always, not one time, not sometimes, all the time working towards this. Katayantas chamam nityam, always speaking, kata, always speaking and hearing. In this way, somebody speaks, somebody hears. Today, another person speaks, another person hears. Always enlightening each other. Katayantas chamam nityam, always. Nityam means always. Tusyanti cha ramanti cha. In this way, they become fully satisfied. Tusyanti and ramanti. They develop bliss. So the word Rama, right? Ramanti. So this is how one recognizes a devotee also. So these are the standards, right? And what we want is we want to pray to the Lord. Please give us a taste of this. Please, whatever service that we do, whatever activity that we do, right, is meant for the pleasure of the Lord and His devotees. But please give us a taste of chanting and hearing. So that is the idea behind it. So Prabhupada says, in mundane, chanting means not only chanting the names of the Lord, it also means preaching. It also means reciting or narrating the scriptures, right? Reading Bhagavad Gita, speaking Bhagavad Gita, all of this is part of chanting also. So Prabhupada says in mundane affairs, there is the law of satiation. In material world, very quickly we become satisfied. If we are very, very hungry and we go to a big buffet, right? Hundreds of ringgit we spend in a hotel and go for a big buffet. How much can we eat? Just one small plate. That's it. Or one big plate at the most. So, but our eyes want to eat everything else, but we cannot. So very quickly we become satisfied and we cannot do anything further. So there's such a thing as too much of a good thing in the material world, right? We watch a wonderful movie, right? But very quickly we get bored of that movie if we watch it again and again and again. We like to hear a wonderful song, but you keep hearing the song again and again. You know that in Tamil we say salichu poiruchu, right? So we get completely, it's no longer giving pleasure. The same thing which we were hankering for and we were thinking would give us so much pleasure, the same thing we hear again and again or we do again and again, it becomes a source of repulsion. Oh, imagine a person who's so hungry, who eats and eats and eats, but then after that you give him food, he's so full, he said, no, no, don't give me anymore. I look at the food also, I feel like vomiting. No, I cannot even think of food. So some people, especially when we get food poisoning, then we have this kind of feelings. But Prabhupada says in the materials world, this is true. But in transcendental sphere, there is no satiation. We can go on hearing and hearing. We can go on chanting and chanting. Otherwise, how could Haridas Thakur be chanting the whole day? Right? Otherwise, how could Prabhupada be doing all the things that he was doing? How do, so many personalities do so many wonderful things? So that's because they get continuous satisfaction. Anandam Buddhim Vardhanam, Pratipadam Purnam Ratasvadanam. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, every step by step, we get bliss. The bliss increases more and more as we step more and more in the devotional service. Now, Bhagavata Saptas, so Prabhupada is speaking here a bit ironically. Now, Bhagavata Sapta means in India, there's this tradition where they speak the Bhagavatam for 7 days. Just like how Bhagavatam was spoken to Parikshit Maharaj for 7 days, right? But Parikshit Maharaj didn't eat, didn't sleep. 24 hours he was hearing, 7 days. But these Bhagavata Saptas are not like that. They have 7 days, maybe 1 hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours. And then after that, they go and do whatever they want. And then the next day continues like that. So now Bhagavata Saptas are held for 7 days only. And after finishing the show, both the audience and the speaker become engaged in material activities as usual. So, Prabhupada calls there's a word for this. This is called Markata uh, or temporary, monkey-like. So for a while we will relish, and then after that we go back to our mundane material thing. So that is the problem, right? So we need to develop the taste by doing more devotional service. So if we do it correctly, without aparad, without offense, right? According to scripture, according to the instruction of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, then definitely result will happen. Definitely there will be some taste. We will develop some taste. That is true, 100%. Mm. So, Sutta Goswami continues, you are a Vidwan. So, Sutta Goswami now is glorifying Saunaka, this is Saunaka Rishi speaking. The sages of Naimisaranya are glorifying Sutta Goswami. Oh, Sutta, you are Vidwan. Vidwan means you are very knowledgeable and you are pure devotee of the Lord. So both conditions, knowledgeable as well as pure devotee of the Lord. Bhagavat, pure devotee means his motivation is pure. That means he only wants to please the Lord. He doesn't want anything else. Whatever he does, it's not for any other purpose, not for name, not for glory, not for distinction or honor or praise or whatever it is, not for following, not for gain, not to make a profit, not for any of these reasons. His only reason is simply to please the Lord. So that is a pure devotee, right? Because Hari is your chief objective of service. Because Hari, so this is the definition of pure devotee, right? Putting the Lord Hari as the chief object of service, not for any other purpose. And therefore, Mahatma, so someone who is a pure devotee, in other words, is a Mahatma, a great personality. So therefore, these are the real great personalities. One who can become a pure devotee, keeping Hari as the sole object of one's life. So you are Vidwan, you are Bhagavat, pure devotee, and you are Mahatma, therefore. Therefore, please describe to us the pastimes of the Lord, which are above all material conception, Visuddham. So the pastimes of the Lord is beyond material conception. It is Vishuddham, transcendental. In other words, it's transcendental. For why? Because we are anxious. Sushrastam. Just like how you also said, Sutta Goswami mentioned the same word, Sushrusatam. He said that all of you are so anxious to hear. And the sages of Naimisaranya are confirming the same thing. Yes, yes, we are anxious to hear. So please tell us more. Please tell us more. So therefore, we are anxious to receive such messages. So Prabhupada describes this is the attitude of a successful Srimad Bhagavatam session, right? When such a combination is possible, namely a qualified speaker and a qualified audience, it is then and there very much congenial to continue discourses on the transcendent. So it becomes very, very powerful. So at the onset, I will tell you I am not a qualified speaker, but because I am trying my best to speak exactly or according to what the Shastras and what the Acharyas have described, Srimad Bhagavatam itself says this, Prabhupada says this. If we repeat what we hear and what we understand according to the Acharyas and according to the Shastra, even though we may have imperfections and we may not be qualified, still it becomes very powerful, right? So not because of the speaker, because the motivation must be correct, and also because of the power of Srimad Bhagavatam. So all glories to Srimad Bhagavatam. So we simply have to follow in the footsteps of the acharyas. So all of us can do this. All of us can speak Srimad Bhagavatam to others. Prabhupada empowers us, right? He tells us, all of you, become guru and go and preach this Bhagavad Katha. There is a great need for this world, right? Don't just rely on one or two people. All of us must take this process. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also empowers this. By the order, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, by my order, please go and pass this message to others. So if we follow that order and strictly follow to the message, then the power of Srimad Bhagavatam will flow to the audience as well. But at the same time, as I said, right, we must always take the opportunity to hear from great personalities. So we are very fortunate in ISKCON. We have great personalities. Srimad Prabhupada is no longer with us, but his disciples are there. They have dedicated so much of their lives. If you read about their lives, you'll be so amazed. Mhm. So and simply by hearing them, their renunciation is so great, their dedication is so great, their devotion is so great. Simply by hearing them and serving them, right? So we must look for that opportunity wherever we get. So so when we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, we must be selective, especially. So not that we disrespect others, but especially we must look out for these opportunities. When we see great personalities come, we must drop whatever we have. We must, try to arrange our situation in such a way. This is a very rare opportunity. We must go to that person. We must hear from them. That is very important. So qualification of the speaker is one thing, but the qualification of the listener is also another thing. So both must happen in order for the bridge to form, the connection, for the flow of transcendence to fall from the lotus feet of the Lord to flow into our hearts. We must develop eagerness. That's why Rupa Goswami says in the Nectar of Instruction, right? What's that verse? He says enthusiasm, patience, and anyone can help me with that verse? Suddenly, it's not coming into my mind. Nectar instruction. Prahlad, what's that verse? Enthusiasm, nectar. He cannot hear me. Let me think. Let me think. E- and this my mind is getting older, forgetting verses. Utsaha Nischaya Dhairyat. So Utsaha Nischaya Dhairyat. Enthusiasm, Utsahan, right? So Utsahan is very, very important. One have to have enthusiasm in doing devotional service. Prabhupada says, no, in Bhagavatam, in Canto 4, Kapila he tells Devahuti, his mother, Kapila is the Lord himself, he tells that devotional service also, there are three modes. So one can perform devotional service in the mode of ignorance, in the mode of passion, in the mode of goodness. One can also perform it in transcendence. So at least we must do it in the mode of goodness. And in the mode of goodness means in enthusiasm. We should not be doing devotional service with with an attitude of, ayo, they have told me to do, ayo, I don't like to, but I have better, otherwise I'll be in trouble. So, if we do it in a grudging manner, that is devotional service in the mode of ignorance. It will not help us much. So we must develop this enthusiasm, utsahan, right? uh, and endeavor, nischayat, and dhairyat, patience. So with these three things, right, we must approach devotional service. So the speaker, the listener, both must be qualified. So, O Sutta Goswami, please describe, therefore, we are all eager to hear, we are sushrutam, we are eager. Please describe those topics of the Lord by which the Mhj Parikshit, whose intelligence or buddhi means intelligence, whose buddhi was fixed on liberation. So again, now, so please tell us more. What happened to Parikshit Maharaj? How all those topics which are in relation to this personality also. How Parikshit Maharaj, whose intelligence was very fixed There's a verse in Bhagavad Gita, Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana, right? So therefore, we don't want vyavasaya. We want our buddhi. Buddhi means intelligence. We want it to be focused on one thing. We don't want it to be focused on many things, many branched. If it is many branched, if our intelligence, this also we want, that also we want, this also we want, here also we'll hear, there also we'll hear, everything also can. So if we are in that kind of mentality, then that is not fixed intelligence. That is many branched intelligence. That will not help us. So we have to be fixed. So Parikshit Maharaj's buddhi, intelligence was fixed. How can we develop this fixed intelligence? We have to purify our intelligence. Our intelligence is contaminated. So how do we purify our intelligence? Very simple. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. The process of devotional service. The more we hear, the more we chant, our intelligence becomes purified. And then, with purified intelligence, we can control our mind. This is the way it works. So, tell us how this Parikshit Maharaj attained the lotus feet of the Lord. How he attained the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the king of birds, Khaga Indra. Khaga means birds, Indra means the lord of birds. So Garuda, he's talking about Garuda, right? Please tell us, these are different poetic ways in which the Lord is glorified. The Lord and his devotees are being glorified. So now Garuda is being glorified. So please tell us how Parikshit Maharaj attained the lotus feet of the Lord, whose lotus feet gave shelter to Garuda. Those topics were vibrated by Vyasaki. So you have heard all these topics from Sukadev Goswami, Vyasaki Sukadev Goswami. Now please repeat those Srimad Bhagavatam. You have heard Srimad Bhagavatam from Sukadev Goswami. Now please repeat those nectarian words to us. So this is the plea of the sages of Naimisaranya forms. So Prabhupada said, attainment of the transcendental service of the Lord is called the perfect stage of liberation. So just now I told you, there is the Kumbh Mela liberation. They take the Amrita and they think they will get liberated. Yes, but that liberation is not the same as the liberation that the devotees get. So devotees, this is the real meaning of liberation, to attain the lotus feet of the Lord, not simply stop birth and death. Simply stopping birth and death, we are simply floating in the Brahman. We have not attained the lotus feet of the Lord. So again, we will fall back into the material world. So only by sticking to the lotus feet of the Lord, one will remain with the Lord forever. So therefore, attainment of transcendental service of the Lord is called the perfect stage. Why is perfect? Because that's what we were made for. Everybody is made, everything has a purpose. What is the purpose of sugar? The purpose of sugar is to give sweetness. What is the purpose of fire? The purpose of fire is to give heat and light, right? What is the purpose of water? To give wetness and to quench thirst. So similarly, what is the purpose of the soul? Jivera Swarupa Hoy, Krishnera Nityadas. The purpose of the soul, the dharma of the soul, Jivera Swarupa Hoy, Krishnera Nityadas, to be the eternal servant of the Lord. That's our purpose, to have a loving, to serve the Lord. So if we are situated in that situation, that is perfect liberation. Such a stage is attained by perfect knowledge and renunciation. Right? How do we attain this? By perfect knowledge and perfect renunciation. How can this be attained? Only by the process of devotional service. By devotional service, we can get perfect knowledge. By devotional service, we can get perfect renunciation. Why? Because we have developed attachment to the Lord. Because we have attached ourselves to the Lord, we lose taste for other things. Detachment becomes not so difficult for us. So that is the advantage of the devotional path. So therefore, Saunaka Rishi, representing the sages of Naimisaranya, is urging Sutta Goswami, therefore please narrate to us the Atya Bhuta, Adbhuta means wonderful, amazing. Ati Adbhuta, the word Ati Adbhuta or Atyadbhuta, Ati means very. So please narrate to us the very, very amazing and wonderful narrations of the unlimited Ananta. Ananta words means unlimited. Please tell us the very, very amazing and wonderful narrations of the unlimited person. For because they are param punyam, because this is the ultimate best thing anyone can do for me or anyone can do for us. Param punyam. Param means supreme, punyam means pious activity. So this is our evidence here. Our evidence here is, now we live in the world of feng shui, we live in the world of vastu, right? Everybody is looking for auspicious. They think doing this puja is auspicious, that puja is auspicious. Oh, let's do this or let's tie. So yeah, it's auspicious, but none of this compares to hearing and narrating. None of this compares to chanting and hearing, because chanting and hearing will lead to remembering the Lord, right? So this process of chanting and hearing is called param punyam. It is the king of all auspiciousness. If we simply chant or we simply hear, so chanting the holy names of the Lord or chanting also means speaking the glories of the Lord. If we only do this, that is all auspicious in our life. We don't have to do anything else. No other thing can compare to this. If we are doing this, that means we are already very, very auspicious. Our lives, our home, our family, our activities are all already very, very auspicious. So that's why a devotee doesn't need to do anything else. A devotee doesn't need to do karma kanda activities. He doesn't need to do this puja, that puja, that puja, this yagya, that yagya. No, not necessary. If he simply is doing devotional service constantly, right, seriously, it's enough. The Lord looks after everything else. So that's the understanding. But since we don't want to tell other people to not do this or do this yagya, so therefore, if a yagya is there, yeah, we go. Okay. But we understand that the real purpose of the yagya is so that we all get together and we all chant the names of the Lord and that we all serve prasadam to the devotees. So this is the real purpose of fire sacrifices. Just as an excuse, it's simply an excuse for us to come, because otherwise you call people, hey, everybody, let's come to my house. Let us simply chant Hare Krishna or simply chant Bhagavatam. People may not be interested, because people in general, they like to have an occasion. They like activities. So therefore, in the name of yagya or in the name of some other kind of puja or festival or whatever it is, these are all just excuses for us to come together. The real heart and soul of any festival, of any yagya, of any auspicious activity, it is the hearing and the chanting. This is the conclusion of Srimad Bhagavatam. If we understand Srimad Bhagavatam, this is the conclusion that we can derive. And we must practice it. So they were spoken to Maharaj Parikshit. These wonderful things were spoken to Maharaj Parikshit by Sukadev Goswami, and you have heard them. So now you please tell us. So this conversation is very dear to the Bhagavatar Viraman. Bhagavata Abhiramam means pure devotees. Bhagavata Abhiramam, those who are pure devotees. So those who are pure devotees, they will value hearing and chanting very much. So this is a definition of that. Why? Because they are being full of bhakti yoga, yoga nishtam. They are perfect in yoga. So this is the perfection of yoga. In other words, even if one practices the yoga process of, meditation and breathing and all that thing, it only becomes perfected when they become a pure devotee. When they relish hearing and chanting the holy names and hearing about the name, fame, qualities of the Lord and the leelas of the Lord, that is the perfection of their yoga. So this is the so do not doubt the power of chanting and hearing, right? It is the ultimate. It is the param punyam. So have that faith that this is all that it takes, right? Prabhupada says, although Srimad Bhagavatam is enriched with all knowledge and religion, It is mainly full of narrations of the activities of the Supreme Unlimited. That's why Srimad Bhagavatam is the king of all literatures. It is called the Grantha, Raja Grantha, right? Raja Grantha means, or is sometimes called Grantaraj. Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, they say that, right? Grantaraj means the king of all scriptures. It is Amala Purana, the spotless Purana, because it dedicates most of its verses in narration of activities of the Supreme Unlimited. It is the science of Bhakti Yoga. Thus, it is Pra or Supreme. So, this is in glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, this few verses is mainly about that. So, we will stop here today, right? Uh, so, what we have heard is we have heard the Maharaj Parikshit's great fortune. We have heard how Maharaj Parikshit kept Kali in check. We have heard how the sages expressed their anxiety to hear more. And then Sutta Goswami also spoke the same thing, right? And we heard, so just in summary, what did the sages of Naimisaranya say? They were talking about how submissive hearing is very important. We must hear submissively Katha Bhagavatam from the pure devotee as much as possible. And this is Amridam for the Martyanam. This is the medicine. This is the wonderful medicine for all of us who are trapped here, who will face death. This is the solution. And Govinda Pada Padmasaram Madhu. So this is the taste of everything we have in our lives. Our lives should be dedicated towards this only, towards hearing and chanting the wonderful name, fame, glories of the Lord. Value and the value of even one moment of a pure devotee is greater than even liberation and everything else plus together. So, understanding this, we must seek out such a pure devotee. We must use our life and we must seek out such a person, hear from that person, serve that person, and surrender to that person. Right? Amrita Adhyatmanam. So this glory of the Lord, which is heard and chanted by great personalities. So it's spoken and heard by great personalities. Even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are constantly doing this. And even they cannot understand the limit of the greatness of the Lord. And they are continuously relishing this, right? So therefore, you will never get satisfied. You will continuously hanker for more and more. The pleasure and the bliss of this will increase day by day. So that is the wonder of Srimad Bhagavatam. That's the wonder of devotional service. So we are now all in this path of devotional service. So let us continuously hear and chant every day with enthusiasm. And let us take this opportunity to hear whenever possible from great personalities, particularly Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada's disciples, right? Whenever we have this opportunity. So that is the conclusion of today's narration of Srimad Bhagavatam. So next week, sorry, not next week, the next session, now comes the story. So here we talked about the glorification, the philosophy, the aspect. The next session we will hear the story. What happened to Parikshit Maharaj? How did he get the curse? And you know, how did Srimad Bhagavatam take birth? How was Srimad Bhagavatam spoken to this world? So until then, let us stop here. Let us chant. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadara, Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. So Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you everyone for spending your time and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So any questions, any answers, anything you'd like to clarify?
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji, yes.
Prabhu, to think of it,
Mm,
during this Draupadi Yoga, Treta Yoga.
mm,
And after that, Draupadi Yoga, Sri Krishna was around.
mm,
Arjuna, Abhimanyu, Parikshit. Three generation was directly under the supervise of Lord Sri Krishna.
yep.
Okay?
Mm,
Uh, maybe it could be that's a reason why they're very fond of Lord Sri Krishna.
mm-hmm,
And when Sutta Goswami was giving preaching and presenting of Srimad Bhagavatam,
mm,
lot of sages sitting in front, they could be also witness Sri Krishna's presence.
mm-hmm,
So when class was given, it's easy for them to digest because
mm-hmm,
they understand the character. They
mm,
have seen the character.
mm,
So they are willing to listen more and more and more.
mm,
Now, at this stage, Kali Yoga,
mm.
new devotee, is very difficult for them to mold them
Yep,
to understand this Srimad Bhagavatam or Lord Sri Krishna, everything. Whereas
yep.
ISKCON devotees,
Mm,
we have been molded from the beginning.
mm,
After years, not 1, 2 years, after 10 years, 20 years,
mm,
we have been molded until we understood after hearing, preaching, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, we accepted.
mm.
But will that be diverted to other normal devotees? It's not possible, isn't it?
No, so actually, according to Bhagavatam, it is possible because they have given examples. So it all depends on the quality, isn't it? There are sometimes devotees who have been for years and years and years and years, and then in the end, they are not really so enthusiastic or whatever. But then there are some devotees who come even for a short period of years. They are very very enthusiastic in following the processes. They carefully avoid aparadh, so it matters in the quality of association. So if one is very fortunate, of course, we are talking about new people. So why we cannot relish, why we cannot appreciate, is because of our anarthas. So we all have anarthas. We have our dirty things in our heart, all the dirty, the sinful thinking, the propensities, all these things in our heart. So we need to get purified. So just like the sun is there in the sky, but if we close our eyes and refuse to come out of the house and keep all the curtains closed, and the sun is out there, so we cannot appreciate the sun. So all these activities is like our sinful propensity. Due to our previous karma and everything, we have our sinful propensity which blocks us. So another example is like the clouds in the sky. The clouds are also blocking the sun. We cannot see. And also we have some creatures like the owl. When the sun is rising, only the owl will go to sleep. So when the sun sets, only the owl will open his eyes. So therefore, to the owl, the sun doesn't exist, or he doesn't care about the sun. So therefore, it's our duty. Therefore, Prabhupada, when Prabhupada was preaching to those people in the Western, they were hippies, they were fallen people and everything. Prabhupada's association was so powerful. Within 1 year, he converted the hippies into happies. Those who were taking drugs, those who were taking, all of them were converted just within 1 year. The power of a nimishena, a moment's association with a pure devotee, this is the power of it. So many factors. One factor is the quality of our association. So if we have that kind of a quality of, if we are fortunate, that's why you were saying, Prabhu, that the Pandavas were very fortunate. 3 generations, they were very fortunate to have direct association of Lord Krishna. But Duryodhana also had that fortune, but he didn't want to take that fortune. He was like the owl. Even though in front of the sun, he was like the owl who closed his eyes and went to sleep. But the Pandavas, they were already pure devotees, as you say. They could already understand the Supreme Lord easily, no problem, right? But the power of a pure devotee can give that benediction. So Prabhupada, somebody asked Prabhupada, the hippies, they are asking Prabhupada, Prabhupada, how did we deserve this? We were so fallen. We were so fallen. And look at us now. We are doing puja, we are doing, within 1 year, 2 years, they were doing Radha Krishna worship. They were strict vegetarians. They were not even eating onion, nothing. and they were only eating prasadam. They sacrifice, if you read about them, they sacrificed so much of their lives simply to dedicate. They gave up their families, everything just so for to serve Prabhupada. How did you achieve this, Prabhupada? What kind of great fortune did we have? Where did the fortune come from? And Prabhupada replied to them, I made that fortune for you. I created that fortune for you. So yes, so we are unfortunate. So that's the power of the pure devotee. That's why the pure devotee is described. The pure devotee is the mercy of the Lord. The Lord doesn't come directly sometimes. Of course, he's there in his deity form. He's there in his holy name. He's there in the Bhagavad Gita. But he sends the devotee as his mercy. The devotee will teach the newcomer about the deities. He will engage the relationship for the newcomer to serve the deities. The devotee will teach the newcomer to chant the holy name. He will help to create that faith in that newcomer. The newcomer will be floundering, oh, it's so difficult to chant. But the devotee will spend time to preach to him, to speak to him, to enthuse him, to help him. And the devotee is also the one who will support that person. Bhagavad Gita is there, Srimad Bhagavatam is there, but how to understand? So Prabhupada gives his purport. The devotees will speak the Bhagavad Gita, will speak the Srimad Bhagavatam. They will help devotees to understand. So therefore, the devotees association is very, very precious. The devotees are the mercy of the Lord. Personified mercy of the Lord are these devotees. So we must, so that's why Prabhu, the association matter, the quality of the association. We must search out such people who are like that, and hear from them and serve from them. So some people are very fortunate. They somehow or other, by their past karma or some amazing fortune or Prabhupada's fortune, they get this opportunity. So we must also learn to take that fortune. When the fortune comes, when the rope is dangling we are in the well, the rope is thrown. Sometimes we must catch to the rope. It's not that, oh, I don't want the rope, please save me, save me, save me, but the rope is coming, we don't catch the rope. So we must hold on to it. We must take up the process. So therefore we have differences. Some people, and the scripture says, even a moment, there is a story of King Katwanga. King Katwanga, he was helping the Devatas to win battle. He was such a great king. He was an earthly king. He was fighting the battles, and he helped the Indraloka people so much. Indra asked him, please ask for a benediction. Tell me what you want. And then King Katwanga said, well, I only want to know one thing. When will I die? Because he was a very focused person. He was very focused. He took the verse, Bhagavad Gita verse, Antakale Chamam, that verse where at the time of death, whatever one remembers, that's what you will attain. So he was asking Indra, please tell me when I will die. And then Indra was saying, oh dear, you will die in just a moment. Your time of life is going to finish in just one moment. So immediately Katwanga Maharaj dropped everything, gave up everything, and focused in mind in remembering the Lord. So it can happen in 1 second, in one moment, but it can also take a lifetime. So Prahlad Maharaj tells everybody, take it as early as you can. Don't wait until the end. So if you have your life right from the age of 5, take up devotional service. Then you become that much more, if your association is good, then and your enthusiasm is high, that much more advancement we can make with this life rather than waiting until the time of death. So yes, every moment is precious. Devotional service, we can attain the perfection within a moment, but it can also take a lifetime. It can also take several lifetimes. And what is the factor? The factor is our seriousness and our humility, and the factor is also our ability to accept a pure devotee. So these are very important points, Prabhu. I hope that answers.
Okay, Prabhu. Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Understand.
Okay.
So it is not, it is, I mean, it is possible
Mm,
as what how Prabhupada did to
mm,
other new devotees.
Correct.
Thank you, Prabhu.
All right. Hare Krishna.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Prabhu.
sir.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions?
Thank you, Prabhu. Pranams to you.
Okay. Thank you, Haribol. Thank you for coming.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you, Pranams.
So let's say Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Sri Vasadi Gaurabhakta. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. I'll see you all then.
Okay.